Hello, this is my World Cultures final exam. The title for this project was Top 10, and the first on my list of top 10 of things that I took away from or learned in this course is the concept of a cultural iceberg. The cultural iceberg was a very good lesson for me. When I thought of culture before this class, as proved in one of the first exercises we did when asked what we believe culture is, Um, I thought mostly about things related to the top of the iceberg. The picture of the iceberg really helped me understand that there is more to culture than music, food, flags, language, etc. Views on raising children, gender roles, approaches to problem solving, importance of space, notions of modesty, etc. These are all things that we looked at over the course and things that were included on the bottom of the cultural iceberg. And as we went on, we learned more about the bottom of the cultural iceberg. Being in Japan also has helped me so much with this. I continuously find small differences about our cultures that you don't normally learn about in books. People have different social norms here. People dress differently, act differently, talk differently, eat differently. The list goes on. The iceberg picture pretty much sums up the purpose of the world cultures course, I would say, and will probably be the picture that defines the course for me. I had a lot of fun seeing the bottom of the iceberg in Japan, and I can't wait to flip over the icebergs in other countries. Number two, women still can't drive in Saudi Arabia. Although it's crazy that sexist laws such as only men can drive still exist in 2015, it's not really surprising to me. I was aware that moderate Islamic ruled Saudi Arabia's monarch country. I was aware that moderate Islamic law rules Saudi Arabia's monarch country, but what surprised me was how the political system actually worked. My questions were included in the further research section of the project, so I never did learn more about Saudi Arabia's political system. But my questions were, it is not written anywhere in Saudi law that women cannot drive. They cannot drive because of Sharia law, the law that governs Islam. I would like to know more about what Islam says that prevents women from driving, and especially from males interacting with female drivers. The second question, the 150 member Shura Council is appointed by the king, drawing on various sectors of society to act as the closest thing to a parliament in the kingdom, though it has no legislative powers. So the king makes a council of 150 people to make suggestions for him, and the council can't actually do anything unless the king says so. I would like to learn more about the politics in Saudi Arabia. This stood out for me because I am very interested in politics but do not know much about how they work. I know very little about how even our own democratic system works here in Canada, so it is very interesting to consider other forms of government, and it is crazy to think that there are still monarchies in our world. The third thing, Japanese divorce ceremony. In Unit 1, Lesson 3, I did a short summary on the Japanese divorce ceremonies. The video I summarized said that Japanese divorce ceremonies are a way for couples to have some closure and move on quicker. After rereading the project for this final exam, I asked my host family about these divorce ceremonies, and they all said that they have never heard of them. This may be an isolated case, or maybe divorce ceremonies just aren't popular in this area of Japan yet, but regardless, the asking of this question reinforced something that we were always told. There are some things that you can't learn at any university, except for one, the University of Life, the only college where everyone is a permanent student. This is a quote from Brushstrokes of a Gadfly. I was thinking of using the word book instead of university, but the quote gets it right. You can read as much as you want about a place and still travel there and feel like you're lost. The best way to learn is to experience. During the time of this course, I was lucky enough to not just learn, but to experience. Fourth, addicted to likes. I cannot remember when or where I saw this, but a while ago I read an article or watched a video arguing that we can't consider social media sites as addicting, and that it's too early to classify them as that. Reading this article reminded me of that because I disagreed with whoever it was that was saying social media sites can't be addicting. I have experienced the addiction of social media sites myself and continue to today, like many others. I lose a lot of productivity due to social media sites, so on a personal level, I knew that this claim was wrong. I really enjoyed reading an article in the course that reinforced my theory that yes, social media sites are not only addicting, but are a serious problem in today's world and should be treated as such. This really stuck out with me because it reintroduced the problem and agreed with my side. The fifth one, rites of passage. This project was hard for me to finish. Originally, I only actually handed in 5 rites of passages, but after redoing the project, I think I handed in 10 rites of passage. At first, it was hard to think of things that I had done in my lifetime that could be considered a rite of passage, as I'm only 18 years old, but after redoing the project, I was surprised to find many. Originally, I did not think that in my 18 years I had seen many major life changes, other than receiving my driver's license and becoming of age of drinking. Completing the project allowed me to think back on my life's accomplishments, not just in athletics or education, but my accomplishments on growing up and maturing. This was refreshing for me and has given me a new appreciation for my past. Number 6. 5 major world religions. In Unit 2, Lesson 7a, we had to watch an 11-minute video that outlines facts about the world's 5 major religions. This was probably my favorite section of the entire course, as I love studying religion. This made my top 10 list because even though I knew a good chunk of the information, I still learned a lot about religions that I already had a good base knowledge about, and also about religions I knew nothing about. I've actually rewatched the video multiple times. I was especially interested to learn about the origin of the major religions and how old they are. This lesson may not have stood out to me the most, but it was the most interesting. Number 7. Indigenous versus Western worldview. The first video we had to watch for Unit 2, Lesson 7a was very eye-opening for me. About halfway through it talks about how in Western society we consider things like making of buildings, guns, cigarettes, etc. as positive economic growth, but at the same time we consider things like healthcare and education as costs. That really hit me hard. When you actually think about how true the statement is, you begin to question why we in the West do certain things and value certain things over others. The video also talks about how things like the environment and animal lives are normally not even considered altogether when our country's elites make decisions. The video then showed how indigenous people treat the environment, and once again I really questioned why we do certain things in the West. In general, this video was very thought-provoking and resparked my curiosity into alternate ways of living and how we can better life in the West. Old public art was based on, number 8. Old public art was based on people. Now it is all abstract. In Unit 2, Lesson 6b, we chose a 25-minute video to watch on different subjects. I chose the urban experience. One of the 3 most interesting things that I learned from the video was that old public art used to be based on gods and or important human figures. But in contrast, today's public art is mostly abstract, some meant to be thought-provoking. I think this stood out to me because the lesson itself was thought-provoking. At first I would assume there are little to no statues or public art being made anymore about God or gods due to our increasingly secular society, but when I think about it, there are still many societies in our world today centered around religion. I never did come to a conclusion on this matter, but it was thought-provoking enough to stick with me. Cultural artifacts. The Kirpan. Learning about the Kirpan was very exciting for me. The Kirpan is a ceremonial sword worn by followers of the Sikh religion, and it was at first it was just something interesting, something I had chosen because it seemed like the best choice on the list to research. But the more I did research on the Kirpan, the more it seemed familiar. I eventually found out that my grandparents had actually given my family a Kirpan a long time ago after their trip to India. I went to find it in my garage, and it has been in my room ever since. It has changed my mindset because this class helped me learn about cultural artifacts that I have had in my possession without even knowing it. I was very excited to learn about the sword, and I get excited when telling my friends and family about it when they find it in my room. And lastly, the keffiyeh. I'm very interested in worldly issues, so I keep up with worldly news as best as I can. My area of interest is definitely the Middle East, so I see the keffiyeh often. Now that I have learned about the history of the keffiyeh and its significance depending on how it is made or worn, I think more critically when seeing someone wearing it. Learning about the modern keffiyeh and how it became a fashion trend in the West also brought back memories that I've had. It reminded me of when my band and me went to an Urban Outfitters 5 years ago and almost bought keffiyehs because they look cool. Learning about the cultural significance of both the keffiyeh and the kirpan that turned out to be both relevant in my life has given new meanings to old memories. That was my project for World Culture's final exam.